Here he goes. Verse 23, he says, therefore the kingdom of heaven, this is what he's talking about, may be compared to a king who wished to settle accounts with his servants. When he began to settle, one was brought to him who owed him 10,000 talents. So there's this king. Come here, Bobby. You can be my king. Bobby, you can stand on the throne. You come on up here. All right? Good. You right here. That's good. Stand right there. All right, Brandon, come here. Brandon is Bobby's servant. So you can't come up here. He's the king. You got to stay down here. Yeah, there you go. Get on your knees for a second. There you go. All right, there you go. Now, he's his servant. That's good. All right. Now, Jesus says, one day, the king says to Brandon, get up. Get up. Okay. Please. Oh, please. You're a polite king. All right. Now, Brandon owes Bobby 10,000 talents. We don't speak in those terms. So a talent is like $75 or so. 10,000 was the highest number you could count at the time. So what's he saying? He's saying the largest amount you can think of is what this guy owes the king. Think national debt. Like 30 plus trillion dollars. America's in debt, something like that. Okay, you need to pay that back to him, and he wants it right now. Can you get that done? Okay, he'll give you a week. Could you get 34 trillion in a week?
No.
How long do you need?
It's not going to happen.
Oh, this is not, we didn't rehearse this, but this is so good. He says it's not going to happen. Why not?
Trillions of dollars. It's not going to happen.
Why?
I don't have $1 trillion.
Right, can you get 34 trillion?
No.
Why not?
I can't get 1 trillion, not 34 trillion.
So this man owes a debt that's impossible to pay. You with me? Okay, now, the king has a response. He has borrowed this money from the king. And he's worked hard for the king. But he owes the king $34 trillion. What do we think the king's going to say? I mean, what would you say if somebody owed you $34? Gas. See, like, we can't think 34 trillion. We got a problem if somebody owes us 3,400. 34. But he owes an impossible debt. So we want the king to go, well, off with his head. Put him in prison, lock him up, make him pay it for the rest of his life. Like, this is the natural response. And this is what everyone's thinking. Verse 25. Since Brandon couldn't pay, his master ordered him to be sold with his wife and children and all that he had, and the payment to be made. So the servant fell on his knees, imploring him, have patience with me, and I will pay you everything. We already know that's a lie, right? Now watch this. This is the key. Underline these words. And out of pity for Brandon, the master of the servant released him. That's what you would do? Wait, let me ask you a question. This dude just forgave you of every debt that you owe. I mean, what are you doing? Like, yeah, right? Compassion that moved to action. All right, just have a seat right there. Now, this makes no sense, does it? Who's going to do that? The government's not going to do that when you owe them money. Like, can you imagine that happening? What would you do? What would your response be? Like, this is what just happened. And out of pity for him, that word, when you study, is splagma. It's like a deep, it's got to come from inside. But he felt so much pain, so much sadness, so much sorrow, so much compassion for Brandon that he had to do something to set him free. By the way, People can tell a big difference when you're just being polite and when you actually care. This guy cares. And so, okay, so you go sit down somewhere. Just go over there somewhere. Okay, so now Brandon is set free, man. He has just been forgiven. Come on up here. Yeah, that's good. I just need somebody. Anybody. You can't come on the king stage. Okay, there you go. Don't let him come up, King. Okay, come here, Cam. You don't want to come? All right, Jake, come on. That's good. All right. So now they're walking by each other, and they stop because Brandon knows Jake. And Brandon says, hey. Then his master's, let me go back. So the man comes back, and Brandon goes, hey, I know you. You owe me $12. The guy who owed someone $34 trillion now remembers that Jake borrowed some gas money and owes him $12. And Jake says, man, I ain't got it. I'm working. I can get it to you in maybe a week or two. Now, Brandon has just been shown all this mercy, all this forgiveness. What should happen? And he should extend it, right? Brandon does not. He says, throw this dude in debt prison until he pays me back. And so Jake goes to debt prison. That's your prison mate right there. All right, yep, there we go. And you can sit down. You're in prison. You ain't getting out. All right? Now, Jesus actually says, and I didn't act this out, but you grab him by the throat and you throw him in prison. Well, the king hears about this. In verse 32, the master summoned to Brandon. Come on, back up here, king. And says, you wicked servant, I forgave you all that debt because you pleaded with me. And should not you have had mercy on your fellow servant as I had mercy on you? And in anger, his master delivered him to the jailers until he should pay all his debt. Go on into prison. Not that one, because Jake will jack you up. All right? Verse 35. Thank you, Bobby. Thank you, King. You can go be dismissed. Now, so Jesus, you get the point here? And Jesus says this in verse 35. He says, so also my heavenly Father will do to every one of you if you do not forgive your brother from your heart. Now, don't mix this up. He's not saying you have to forgive in order to receive forgiveness. No. Jesus' point here is simple, that forgiven people forgive people. You can't experience the grace and mercy and compassion and forgiveness of a good God and not demonstrate it to everybody else. It's impossible.